Welcome to the Life and Recovery podcast. If anybody out there finds this valuable, by all means, please feel free to share it with somebody. You can find this at Choice Recovery Path on YouTube or any streaming service that floats your boat. Anyway, today we have, you want to introduce yourself?
What do I say? I'm Jacqueline and I'm an
Who are
addict.
you? Sure. Yeah, that's great.
Hi, Jacqueline.
Hi.
What's up? Elise, who are you?
I'm Elise. Hi.
Hi. So,
Who are you?
not having a oh yeah, my name's Mark. I am also an addict. So usually we have some preliminary conversation before this, but I figured, fuck it, let's just wing it and go for it. What's going on with you, Jacqueline? We were talking about
Okay, so
and
I think we should get into it. I have 2 years clean and I haven't dated anybody, anything, not sex, nothing since I've been clean because I followed the rules. And so now I'm like, I'm ready. But it's like, how do you navigate that like as a clean person? So this without sleeping with people that you go to the meeting with, right? Is like, that's why I didn't want to, I don't know. I feel like a thing has changed in my head just in like within weeks, like I'm just like, oh my God, I want to sleep with the neighbor, and, but I also want to be with someone in recovery. And so I'm on the dating website and, this guy right now before that podcast, I sent the picture to my friend, without going into all the stories, because this is about recovery, right? This has to be about recovery. Without going
it
into
helps.
without going into the guy that said he was 5'11" and then got out the car and was about my height, and I'm not 5'11. Like, we're not gonna get into that story. That's crazy to me. Like every time I think about it, I could be sitting on the toilet and laugh out loud. Like I can't. Like, please don't do that. I'm 5'2". Like that's a big lie. But this other
It's
guy,
like you're going to be found out either,
Right. Was he wearing platform shoes?
no, he was actually. He was wearing big like biker shoes, like to ride his motorcycle, like big platform. Yes.
That's funny.
But he was still your height.
That's crazy. Like I really.
He was 5'2" with platforms?
Yes. So I haven't dated in a long time, like 2 years. Okay. And then like, I was probably sleeping with like still the drug deal. Like I haven't gone on a date like in years. So so when I told everybody at the meeting the other day about this, everybody just started laughing because Elisa dates on. Oh, I don't mean to break your anonymity, but like the height thing, that happens, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Normies don't practice a program of honesty necessarily.
Yeah. Well, and also, okay, normies, yeah, we could say that, but also like a guy that's 5'1", he struggles in his life, and I'm sorry, he struggles. That I could feel his energy in the date. So I was so took back because I was like, okay, Jacqueline, like all these thoughts, like, okay, now you're dating again. This is how it is. Like, and he doesn't drink. So I was like, at first, from a pictures view, I was like, he doesn't drink. Like, this is ideal, because normally on a first date, people are like, we need to get fucked up so we can smash. Cause that's everybody's objective. Let's stop fucking around. Like, we're in it to win it. All right. So I'm like, let's get on this first date so we can get to the second date. So I could like really like feel good about myself that we waited to the second date. And then he's eye height with me. And I'm sitting there like, I wanted to say, do I look like my picture? Cause you don't, but then he would have said,
I'm like, did you say something? I mean, I
didn't, because I didn't, because my face is also broken, so I had to keep holding my words back. Cause if I said it, what if he came back with like a rebuttal? Like, well, now I didn't know your face looked like, you know what I mean?
No, I get it. But it's like, I mean, I'm 6'9".
Yeah.
So that's like me going in and saying, oh, I'm only 5'7". It's like, you could lie about age maybe a little bit, maybe get away with it somehow. But those things that are clear and obvious, like me saying that I'm like a foot and a half shorter than I am. Why would you do that? Because it's going to come out. I mean, you're going to engage with a human being. That's going to know.
It's so
the goal is to meet somebody you're going to know.
I can't even grasp how he thought that. Like, and it starts it off as a lie.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
it's like from the moment I saw him, I couldn't I didn't have words to speak to him because it wasn't about that he was short, but I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
Yeah, it's a lie.
it's a lot like, and it starts it off like, and then I could feel his energy of like this insecure man. Like it took me all day because I was like, my friend's like, well, how was the date? And I was like, I can't explain it. But after something happened between our conversation, me and my friend, and I was like, oh my God, it was his insecurity.
Mhm.
Like even with my face broken and everything, I don't walk around with my head down and be like, no, my baby's no. Like, you know what I mean? I felt his little man syndrome, and you got to step it up. There's people out there that like little men. I
Right.
don't think a little man, but I don't want you to tell me that you're 5'11" and you walk out and you're my height. You
Yeah.
know?
All right. Well, this brings up a good point that does have to do with recovery. Not that that doesn't, but so the idea of when you do, all right. So let me start with the beginning of this part because this is something that everybody talks about, but very few people actually do, which is staying out of a relationship for the first while of your recovery. Why did you do that?
So what I did, because that's what everybody told me to do, and I was working. There's a couple of things. So I was working with this guy who was in recovery, and I was so impressionable in the beginning. And I literally did everything that they said. And I would hear, and he would talk about his relapses. And he was like, and he was in this cloud, and he had 4 years clean. And he was like, you know, the last time I relapsed was because of a heartbreak. And I know heartbreaks can, so when he said that, and then like someone else said it, and I really stand by, like, if more than two people say something, three people even is like, oh my God, that it's real.
Mhm.
So just those little things. And then also I went on a date. I still did in the beginning, kind of like, I was like, I could go to the club, I could go on a date. And this guy was drinking, and I had like under 30 days. I don't know how many days I had. And my mind he had a drink in his hand, and my mind was like, oh, let me have a sip. Like it like asked the question before and then I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to go. And I just knew that like, I didn't, because these people had said it and that happened with me, that I was like, I wanted it so bad to be clean that I didn't want to put myself in that situation because people had already experienced it for me, and I trusted that.
So you went so the whole 2 years you've been working
I've
on
been
you.
working on me, and now I'm back, and I'm back. And navigating, like also like there were times like, people that I have slept with in the past, and I would hang out with them and be like, God, I'm also different. And this one guy that I was having sex with for a long time, I had seen him since I've been clean, and I would be around it, and I was like, man, you're the same person. Like, you're still the same. Like, you're still doing fraud. You still don't have a job. Now you don't have a car. And I wasn't attracted and I thought I would never stop loving this man. Like in my whole, like I never thought. And so if I was going to have sex with someone, it was going to be him. And I just couldn't even imagine, like, I don't want to have sex with you, So it was also finding, who am I going to have sex with?
So your requirements changed. I mean, the
Totally.
reality is, we come in and we seek out what's always worked or what seems normal and natural. But now that we've evolved into different people, what once worked doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So now
Wow.
the next part of this is, how do you figure out what does work? So if you were to, all right, I'm going to take something from a speaker that I heard in California. So, and I want to get your take on this before I say that. So, what are you looking for?
What am I looking for?
So, I mean, if you had to make a list of, all right, I'll just say the story first. So, if you had to make a list of, top 10 things you're looking for in someone else, what would they be?
Wow, that's like, I don't know. So um I think that I would want someone in recovery. I like, either they're in one of the recoveries, just because I think that there's so much personal growth
One
there,
of the recoveries, what does that mean?
like an AA or NA or
Well,
like,
they're in a 12-step program.
yeah, I don't
Okay.
know. Yeah, one of the A's. Um, yeah, it would definitely be one of the, because I used to say, well, maybe even church or something, but I just think that there's so much like the accountability and the self growth.
Hmm.
Okay, so they're in
Has
a
a job.
program. What else? Has a job. What else?
Has a job is so important to me. Wow, 10 things is a lot.
Let's just keep going till you run out. So you
Has a job.
has a in a
5'11"
program,
for
has a
real.
job.
At least a 5'11" would be cool. Like 5'10" and above would be cool.
Okay.
A cool 6'3" would be like a win, you know.
Okay. Is there a high and a low echelon to that?
No, it's not for real. I mean, it's not. I really, I joke around and say I just want a daddy. Like, so, like, I mean, if you could put a 6'3" is like daddy, you know.
Okay. Okay.
I definitely think like the vibe is like like the vibe of someone, because my personality is so strong that like even when I hung out with that little man, I felt like I was too much for him. But there also are men that are too much for me. Like someone not too similar to me. I know that we don't mesh. It doesn't, I mean, it makes for good sex, but it doesn't make for good anything else.
Okay.
Um,
So 12-step job, vibe, 6'3".
6'3" would be cool.
What
Uh,
else?
Not obsessive. Not obsessive.
Not
Gives
obsessive.
me not obsessive.
With
And
you or in general?
with me, because I'm
Okay.
busy.
Okay.
And God, I guess I've never write these lists. Like, I have friends that are like, I need this, and I'm like, I've never done that.
I
I
feel
think
like
that's
you
my
need
list.
someone funny.
Funny. Well, that goes with the banter. Like, the banter of the person, like an egotistical person, like we all have our ego and stuff. Like that's something that we all battle with, but
Okay.
someone's street. So you know what? I've tried to really be like, I'm not going to be with anybody's street. I need you to like have held a gun in your life or something, at least.
Recovered street.
Maybe
Recovered.
not. You haven't had to have a gun. Maybe, I don't know. It really does come to the banter.
Gangsters Anonymous.
Yeah. A nice smile. Like nice smile is like right there before the job, maybe. Like a cute smile. And even probably before the height. It really is.
Okay.
And that's about it.
All right. So we got nice smile, 12 works the steps, or is in a program, got a job, got a good vibe, 6'3", not obsessive, able to banter, and is a little bit street.
That sounds pretty right.
Okay. So now another question. What are you bringing to the table?
Well, I'm bringing in someone with a job.
Okay.
Someone with a job, someone who's busy, obsessive. I don't really know if I'm obsessive or not. I would like to say that I'm not, but um I think that I have good banter. I think like one of my best qualities is like um and some would maybe say not, but would be the banter that I like, like I don't lack conversation. And I think that that is hard for a man and a woman sometimes. Is like, what do we talk about? Um, oh, and athletic, like I like to work out, I like to ride bikes, I hate being outside because of my eye, but I also like to be outside. That's like kind of the hard part. Oh, a dog lover. They have to be a dog lover. I'm a dog lover. A dog lover wins. Like if they don't like, I've tried to date someone that doesn't like dogs. In fact, that should be first question. Do you like dogs? And if they say no, I'm going to say, we don't have to, unless we're just going to have sex and that's it. There's no chance for nothing else. You got to lock the dog up when they come over. That's fucking nutty town.
Yeah.
I want someone that wants to snuggle with my dog and me. That's a win.
Okay.
Feel that.
All right.
And then, so what else do I bring to the table? I think that my best traits of what I bring is that I am a hard worker. I think that's attractive. And that's like something that's a big part that I'm trying to not make such a big part of my identity, but it is. And just my banter. And I think I'm probably fairly good in bed. So those are wins. Those are all wins.
All right. So you kind of know what you want and you know what you're bringing to the table. So I was telling you this. I was listening to a speaker at one of the conventions recently, and she's like, had 30 years, all sorts of time, and she came in and she was pissed off about the fucking dude she had dated because he was a shit show on many levels. Went to her sponsor, started bitching. She's like, all right, well, I got a homework assignment for you then. She's like, we're gonna help you get a new man. And she was like, oh, we are? Oh, that's fucking fantastic. Great. Got out a little pad and paper. She's like, all right, what's the assignment? She's like, I want you to go down and I want you to make this list of what you want. She's like, okay, cool, perfect. Got to have a job, got to have 401k, got to be pretty, got to be 6'3", got to be not obsessive, got to be, you know, a little bit street, got to be a dog lover, got to be, I mean, her whole version of that list. Sat down, wrote it all down. Cool, great. Called the sponsor back. She's like, I got my list. She's like, cool, meet me at the coffee shop. We're going to go down to the coffee shop. She reads her whole list. She's like, got dude's name at the top and then reads out the whole list. She's like, all right, perfect. Now, what do we do? How do I make this happen? She's like, perfect. On the top of that list, you mark out his name and put yours. She's like, why? She's like, because now when you represent everything you want, you're going to attract that into your own life. And I thought it was a fucking really cool story.
That's great.
And, you know, with the exception of the 6'3" part, you know, how do you actually start making, how do you start to attract something that's new and that's in alignment with the life you're trying to live, like someone? You know, the funny thing is I listened 12 steps on hers, but I didn't hear that you brought that to the table for yourself. Someone in recovery.
Well,
How
yeah, you're
come?
right. I think that I lack recovery just in the sense of like I'm on my fourth sponsor. I've done 1, 2, and 3, you know, 3 going on 4 times. So even like when I share is like that's just not something that I have yet to be like loudly like, and I think that there's like ever since I hit 2 years, which was just like a month ago, is like now I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I'll talk to the newcomer, but I still have this like insecurity of being like, and we got to keep coming back and we got to, you know, say all the things to the, like, it's like, wait a second, am I allowed to say that with my time? So I think that there's this insecurity attached to my time and being like, when they're like, you have to, like, taking my 2-year cake was like, what do I say? And they're like, you're talking to the newcomer. And it was like, when I had that practice speech or like, how do you do that? Or when I did it, like now I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of get this. I could say this, like, this is how I did it. Like, how did you do it? And I've never shared like that, you know, but then when I shared like that, people are like, oh, you've grown. And I'm like, oh, so that's how I'm supposed to like, I didn't know that at 2 years I could say how I don't know. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It does?
Yeah, a little. I mean, I think everybody has this a little bit,
Oh, really?
a
Well, that's
little
good
bit
to
of
know.
you know, insecurity about, you know, do I got something to bring to the table?
Yeah. Cause
You
there's a
know?
lot of pressure to be like, to say like, yeah. And I think letting go of that pressure is, you know, like you're just talking, you know, you're just giving a message, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I do think that I lack that. But you know what? That is a good point in saying like, what do we bring to the table? Because yeah,
So
that's a good one.
yeah, I mean, it's like, what do we bring to the table? What do we bring into this equation? So it's just not about everybody else, you know, doing that. You know, like we was always joking with Elise a lot that, you know, like, you know, the first guy that walks into the meeting with a snake tattoo on his neck and just got out of prison, and every girl's like, "Woo," you know.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
every guy that walks into the, you know, the rooms that sees the girl that's still, you know, walking around with her boobs topping out of the top of her turtleneck and fucking still looking like every version of what we got used to for a long time. How do you start to challenge those beliefs? What do you look for, Elise? Well, you've been down the road a little bit. How's that changed?
I'm not looking, but I am making that list. Like I said, scratch the name out and put yours at the top. That's
Mhm.
been my focus recently. And I remember I always used to be like my sponsor would always tell me, or my therapist would always tell me, like, make a list of the qualities you're looking for. But like I never had time to like actually create that because then I would already be with someone or I'd want to be with someone. And so I'd change the list.
Oh,
Like
to fit them?
yeah, to just be them. Like it, like, oh, I don't like compromising my list, basically.
Mhm.
of like, oh, I don't really need that just because this person doesn't have that. And I heard a lot of like talking about like insecurity and you know, I to me that comes from a place of fear, so it's kind of like I would love all these things, but I guess I don't have to have them, and then we settle for like what is available when we're not really like I love when people in the program are like, you know, basically like, your dreams, come true or beyond your wildest dreams. Recovery is beyond your wildest dreams. Like, I'm so glad I didn't pray for certain things because my higher power gave me more than what I prayed for. Like, we sell ourselves short so much,
Mhm.
and I have definitely done that in relationships, like not like anybody's better than anyone else, but I was kind of like, oh, I guess I don't basically like squashing my own needs. Like, I guess I don't have to have that. Oh, you go to meetings, but you're not actually willing to work the steps. Like, oh, I guess that's okay. Not today. It's not. And that didn't end well. So,
Yeah, and how it changes. I got a really good friend who talks about, how he spent a long time getting in a love affair with himself
yeah.
and, really, really deeply taking the time to really figure him out so he knew, when ready and at that stage that he would be ready to have a healthy relationship. And it started out with the goal to be the best, to get a really good, healthy relationship. But what he started talking about is once he began to value and get into a love affair with himself, so many people didn't cut the bar anymore of what they would find acceptable. My bar was, I think all of us, our bars were a little bit low for who would meet the criteria. Do you have a pulse? Are you here? Are
Yeah.
you, you know, do you have something I want?
Mm.
Am I going to
Yeah.
hit it? Is it,
Your friend, our friend,
yeah.
that what he told me that really made a big difference
Mhm.
when he was talking about that experience was he was like, I got to the point where I was like, you have to be so fucking awesome for me to leave this. Like, for me to
Mhm.
have change this because I love this. I love being on my own. And I was like, okay, like it's ironic to me, but it's almost like you will become ready the moment you no longer need it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And where, yeah, it's like, if I get it, great. If I don't, meh, you
Yeah,
know.
that's what this other guy, which just before this, he's like tattooed up, and he looks like he might be in recovery, maybe. And I was showing a picture of him and I'm like about this guy, right? I'm about it. I'm like, he's sexy, he meets half those things, or maybe three of them. I don't know, maybe two. And I show a picture to someone. She goes, he
So
looks
he's
like
6'3" is what you're saying?
he's 6'3", like
And a good
little
smile.
thug, like, the banter. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I got this. I'm back. And then I show a picture to someone just before this, and she goes, he looks like he's high. And I say, well, I ain't fucking like, and I'm about to hang out with him today. And I'm like, that draws the line for me. Cause I thought that so I said to him, like, are you in recovery? Like, and he had asked me, what am I looking for? I'm saying like two things, like to draw the line would be like, I don't even think that I would want to be with someone that drinks, but like drugs is like everything I felt about this guy 10 minutes ago. And now is like, oh, well, if he's high, like high on what, like, what is he high on? Like, I don't want that. And also like what you guys were just saying about, when he or anybody has asked me, I mean, this is all very new for me. Cause a month ago was like, I thought that like, maybe this was just the new me. And I wasn't like, I just didn't. I think that I just didn't know what I wanted. Like clean. Like, is it someone in recovery? I only go to the same meetings. Is it that guy? Is it that guy? Because I
What
really do.
caused the shift?
How's the shift? I mean,
What
now
caused the shift? Like you
I
said, for 2 years, you were this way. And then in the last month, something shifted. What was it?
what I think, so this, I was talking to this girl at work about it. She's a lesbian and she's like coming in, she's dating this new chick and she's coming in. This is what she said. And I also like women. So I really was like on the dating websites for women because I struggle with my sexuality because of my childhood, I think. I don't know. My whole family struggles with their sexuality.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, I'm going to be with a girl. So I've been on the dating websites for girls and I'll like swipe and I'm like, nah, men are easy. I can go sleep with a man right now. Like, hey, what are you doing? Oh my God, cool. Like have a few laughs and like literally go sleep. With a woman, it's a little bit harder. So this girl comes into work and she's like dating this new chick. She comes in every Sunday. And we're like, well, what happened? Tell us what's going on. Like, and so this is what she said. Cause I thought like I hit 2 years. I've been going to a little bit more meetings. I've been seeing like, there's just like something like where I don't know what happened, but people are like looking like I'm almost like, I don't know what the switch is. She said that it's because she's coming in talking about all these dates or the dates with the girl and she's getting it like explicit with the like, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, oh my God, like, wait, say it again. Like,
So she
what happened?
reminded you of what you're missing.
Yeah. And I'm like, and so she said, I think it's because I was like, I don't know what happened. Cause yesterday I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna hang out with this guy. He's got tattoos. Like, and she's like, I've never seen you like this. And I'm like, look, I'm just trying to have sex. That's all I'm trying to do. And so she thinks that it's her coming in. I think that it's like, I don't know. And it's not that I haven't wanted to have sex. Like, I think that like it's been in my head. And I say sex because that's the prize for me. It's not like there's some people that are like, they have their list of the men that they want. And they're like, my cousin has a new boyfriend every 4 months, brings him home to the family to meet. And it's like, I'm not that person. Like, even when he asked me, what are you looking for? Like, I'm just looking to have a good time. To be my boyfriend, like, I have to like I'm busy, you know what I mean? Like I could slip in a sex time, but like you're going to hang out and be at my house when I'm like, that's just not my vibe. And it never has been. I've had 2 boyfriends in my whole entire life and we like lived together. So I'm not that person that's just like, I'm looking to have a boyfriend and be married. Like I'm looking for a good time. I lost that for a little while because my eye was on the prize and the prize was being clean, and even seeing this guy, even hanging out with someone, the thought of using doesn't come into my head, but there's like this faint thought, like, like, oh, we're going to hang out. Like, God, how are we going to do this without alcohol? Like that thought, it's not like, well, you need to drink, but it's like this, like, I've never done it. So I don't know. Like, I mean, I feel like in due time, we'll get there and it'll be comfortable and it'll be great. But it's like, so like, who's taking my shirt off? Do you take it off or do I take it off? I don't know. I don't know who takes the shirt off. Who's going to take my pants off? Do I just start naked? I don't know. I don't know, like, how do we do this? And look, we're all being recorded. It doesn't matter. Look at people and Elisa's face is so straight that I'm like, what is she thinking?
Hilarious. Well, no, I mean, but you bring up a good point is like, nobody ever really defines what am I actually looking for here? Am I trying to get into a relationship? Am I trying to just hit it? Am I trying to just fucking, have a weekend away with somebody? Am I just looking for a little bit of intimacy because it's been so long? I mean, I don't think anybody ever defines that. It's just all of this unspoken shit. So I guess the question is, what are you looking for?
Yeah,
what will move your recovery forward in the way you want?
And I think there's also like something with, a lot of women are looking for like a companion in anybody. Fuck the list, right? Like, fuck the list. I want someone to come home to. I want someone to text me, but my time is limited. And especially being clean. I mean, you put a guy in front of me with all those things on that list. I could change. This could be false. I could be giving you a false narrative right now. And I could be like the one that's like, oh my God, why aren't they texting me back? Like I could be that person. But I also know that I am the person that is down to like, let's have sex and let's like when's date 3 or whatever the number of the dates is. Yeah, but I think that there's this thing with women. It's like shameful to be like, I just want to have sex with you. Like you look like you're fuckable. Like, are we allowed to say that?
Sure.
I don't know if I want you to spend Saturday with me, but I know I could spend Friday at 8:00 with you.
Okay. So how much of this weighs, like you talked earlier, you said something earlier that I want to go back to. You said like maybe they could drink, but definitely not drugs. What's the difference?
I just think a lot of people do drink. I honestly would prefer someone that's in recovery, like, that doesn't, just because I feel like I'm living my best life. But drugs is, first of all, this guy looks like he's on meth. And like, I think that where's the like, is your dick gonna get hard? Probably not. And you're not gonna have a real smile. Like, I don't want to be like, I don't want that fake smile. You know what I'm talking about? Like the fake, you have to put on this fake because you're so, and then like, if if I knew for sure your penis was gonna get hard, like, come on, man, let's just do this right here, right now. But I don't know, but I really don't know. I'm telling you, 10 minutes before this, and then I showed the picture, everything I thought about this person like just vanished. Because I don't want to be with somebody that's on drugs. And then alcohol, I think that it's just more common.
Okay.
Like maybe someone who smokes weed too, but like someone that's doing like heroin or meth, or like in their serious active addiction, or even a really serious alcoholic, not serious, but like the neighbor has a glass of wine on Friday. I wouldn't mind being with someone like that. But then there's also that feint of, do you? I mean, there's people that are married to normies. But for me, at all costs, I want to avoid, like, if you were to sit here and tell me, hey man, I was with a normie and I ended up relapsing after 10, I would be like, that's enough for me to be like, I don't want that. Like, I trust that, like, I don't want that. I just haven't heard enough stories for people that have said that. Yeah. But drugs, I do draw the line at drugs, because I feel that that's putting me in an unsafe zone for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I'd like
about,
to
go ahead,
know.
Lise. What were you saying, Lise?
And I'd like to know, because I feel like a lot of people do only look for like a good time. And I'd like to know, how is that not using a person like a tool? Like, basically, you're my walking dildo.
Well, we're all doing it, aren't we? Men
I'm
do it too. I mean, right? Men just look it. You want to get on this topic, because I got a lot to say.
Is that using someone as an object? Because that to me doesn't feel like recovery when I'm treating someone like a thing.
Well, I've only done 1, 2, and 3 times. So I don't know what step that is, but I'm not there. And you're right. And I haven't even had sex with anybody. So I love that. I do love that. Well, so
let
what's
me ask
the answer?
On the 1, 2, and 3 thing, what keeps changing? You said you've got 4 sponsors, you've gotten through the same 4 steps. Seems to be a pattern.
Well, and so this sponsor, after this last sponsor, I was like, it's the sponsor. I don't want to call that sponsor. So I'm on to the next. So this sponsor, she tells me to call her every day. I call her everything she tells me to do. I'm literally changing it. Cause again, it's like, even with the family member or that friend that I'm like, oh, they got the problem. After like 5 people have the same problem, it's probably my problem, not their problem. So,
Okay.
like,
yeah, I mean,
yeah, like it is hard with the family ones, because I'll really battle in my head, but like it'll be like 5 people and I'll be like, no, but that person, I know it's their problem, but the other 3, maybe it's it's like, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's so different. I mean, I think about every shitty relationship I've ever had. There's one common denominator, me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and it's, and being aware of that is like, where I'm at now is like with dating. That's why I want to date someone in recovery, and even like friends or coworkers, or, I have a coworker that, her family is this. It's the same where I'm at, where it's like the sponsor, the family, the this, and I work with her. So I see her vibe, and I want to be like, do you want to like do a step? Because it's like, because she's like, people that are just so unaware, it's like, how do you like, I'm so eager to do all the steps to become more aware and to know more, because it just all starts to make sense. Like the practice, like when I'm listening to someone, her, just recently, like yesterday, like last night, it's like, I have to bite my tongue to not be like, do you not see that it's you? Like that you're the like, but some people live their whole lives, like, and they don't, like my brother is one of those people that like, I have to be stronger because I'm waiting for him to change and he may never change. So how do I enter this relationship without being passive aggressive, like waiting for this person to change and become self-aware when they just might not, you know? Or the person at the plate or the girl at work. Like I'm sitting here just like, all right, I'll enter these relationships when they realize, but the most people don't. Some people even in recovery probably don't, you know, and I may, you know, like they're even the 3 people that I'm like, it's not their problem. Like there's this part of me that's like, doesn't want to see that it's me or that I can change or that I do have to become stronger. The brother one is the hardest one for me, that I have to be stronger and become more aware so I can enter this relationship. But my mind is like, I'm just going to let time pass. But that's not right, you know? Yeah. I don't know.
There's also how much control do you have over others. So
That's hard. That's hard. Yeah.
We all got no control over everybody else. We got a lot of control over us and how we approach us. You know, and the story
Yeah,
I create and connect to it. What's that?
that's what I was thinking. That's what I think any type of relationship, what it makes so difficult is like, you know, when we hopped on, we started talking about like dealing with humans and their humanness and their unpredictability. Like there's so little that we can control, you know? And I think that's why a relationship with anybody is so difficult, because it's like I can't control you and you're unpredictable. And I like that, but then also like, because for me it'll be like, I want you to stay in this box where you belong, and also don't be boring. You know? And that's like not, you know, that's my dog. That's what my dog is for. You know, that's not what like a human is for. But so I have a lot of fear when it comes to, you know, being able to connect closely with people emotionally, because it's like, what if they don't do what I expected? What if they do something that I have no control over and really, really don't like, you know?
Well, it's the hard part is, I mean, you got to put yourself out there enough to find out. And the problem is it comes with risk. There's no risk. I mean, who gives a shit? You know, the reality, or somebody, when I heard him, you know, talking about love is, you know, our definition of it is giving somebody the power to absolutely destroy you and hoping they don't use it. You know,
Mm.
and that's something you have zero control over. But, you know, like I always thought it older, you know, you've gotten through a relationship. It's been really hard. You come out the other side. Now, obviously, it's how you do this now is different, but it's not like you know, if you fall, you don't fall back. You know, you get to this really high height in your relationship and everything's going great, and then it falls apart. It's not like you go back to where you started. You fall way worse. You fall to this much lower place, and it's harder to come back from. But if you don't risk, I mean, if you could figure out a way to figure out relationships with no risk, write a book because you'll be a bazillionaire. How to
Well,
do that.
that's when I think of romantic relationships, like that's what I think of a lot of like of the to me that's what kind of like the looking for a good time thing is like I have this amount of time for you, and it has to go, and I need it to kind of go down this way, and then that's all I can handle. And I understand that. I understand that like you know, I need this much of you here, because I can do that with other things in my life too, right? Of like, okay, I want this, and then I get there and I'm like, ugh, that's enough, and then back away. And like a lot of times I have to, I feel like as my awareness increases, I am more like, okay, less and less, this is not about you, Elise, or like, okay, maybe you're bored, but what's the other person feeling or wanting to do? Like, could you really get on their wavelength more, you know, or could you stick this out, whatever it is, because the other person is enjoying this, you know? With friendships, like anything, because I'm the kind of person who people will be like, hey, you want to do this? And I'm like, that's not my vibe. Nope. You know,
You
like I
have the
don't.
power though to do like with a, so there's, I feel like with how you said the sex thing, like you're a lover, right? And you like love. And I feel like I'm hurt from love. So I have these boundaries of like, well, I want sex, but I don't want the love part because that puts me at risk of falling really hard, you know?
Yeah.
So if you and I were in a, and this is a perfect example because you are the person that I am not, and I'm the person that you sleep with. Like, I don't know if you sleep with, but like, I'm like the guy, you know? And I think that the boundary is for me as a woman though, because I think that men just have, I mean, my idea of men is just like, maybe they are protecting their little hearts. See, I feel like if I really dig deep into it, it's like a way to protect myself. You know, like, well, I'm working. My identity is work. Why do you work so much, Jacqueline? Probably because if I'm working, I'm not thinking of all the fucked up shit that I've been through, you know? But for how you said about like, oh, well, I want more time. Like if someone were to say that I was just sleeping with, my mind would be like, no, this is what it is. Like, so then when people say, okay, well, me and Elise are friends and we go dancing together. And then you have the friend that you gossip with, and then you have the friend that you work out with. So what's the difference there than like the person that you sleep with? Like, what's the
Yeah.
difference? You know what
And
I mean? Like
I
if
think,
someone goes, well, we're only sleeping together, but I want more. That's not fair because I want more. And but why is it not fair? Because
yeah.
the thing was only we're only sleeping together. I don't
Yeah.
want
I
to do with
like,
you.
Yeah, but
I
how many
like,
times you been in that situation where, oh, we're just sleeping together this weekend, and then 3 years later, you're like, how the hell did I get here?
I mean, yeah, and you're sleeping together 3 years later. I mean, depending on the person, yeah.
I think I've actually been looking at that, like what you're talking about, Jacqueline, because I think I do that like now that I'm in slaw and I'm trying to do a deeper dive into all that, I see like things in friendships as well. Like well, I'll be like, oh, or like if you want to go to something, but then like you don't want to go alone and you just ask the person that you think like is free at that moment, and then like just little things like that, I'll have to take a step back and be like, do you really want to spend time with this person, or are you being codependent and you don't want to go to the thing by yourself? So I'm becoming more aware of like, am I connecting, or like, do people have to have a purpose to me, or can I just be and connect? And so that's something that I'm looking at all across the board that I don't think I've looked at in this much depth. So it's very interesting because I think it's like addicts, like our natural state is like to use and anything, right? Like what can you get me? Like how can I feel good? And and then, for me, I mean, that didn't go, I put down the substance, but I can do that in other ways with other things. And there's more coming up for me that I'm looking at for sure.
Yeah, I mean, coming in and defining, I mean, this is kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier. So literally like, what is my expectation? What do I want from this? Because it's really easy to try to compartmentalize all of these aspects in different, oh, you're good for sex. Oh, you're good for funny. You're good to go to the club. You're good for this. You're good for that. When, and I think we do that and compartmentalize people into these little boxes because it keeps us safe. I don't ever have to put myself out fully to anybody if I just put everybody in this little box and I can pick and choose from what I want. It's kind of like this little buffet that I get to pick and choose from, which keeps me safe. And then I'm never vulnerable. I'm never put out to anybody, and I never have to get in, but I get all of my needs met. But then I'm also constantly alone. And I've
I've
never
never
made an
thought about it that
actual
way.
deep, meaningful connection with anybody to be at a place where I can actually get, when I wipe away all of the fear and the angst and the animosity towards what could be and how I could get hurt, you're left with what you actually want. But do you actually want to put yourself out enough to see if you can find that in a single other human being? And know the other side is not only do I want to get that from them, I also have to bring that to the table myself. I have to be willing to show up. I have to be willing to be vulnerable. I have to be willing to talk about my shit. I have to be the one to go first sometimes. I have to be the one to fucking eat my ego and pride and say, fuck, I fucked that up. I'm sorry. Can we make this better? I'm the one who has to do all that shit. Instead of just, compartmentalizing every single emotion into a different single human so I can try to get my needs met to 29 different avenues, which is also very much like using.
For sure.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not,
crazy.
but
That is totally true. I've never really I mean, I definitely saw myself as being like a kind of like give a little bit to people and being busy and you can't. I definitely see that in myself, but to break it down the way that you break it down is literally wow. I've never thought of it that way.
well, I mean, it's safety. It's all about keeping myself safe, because I know I can come to Jacqueline for this and I can go to Elise for that. And I can come over to my other friend for this and I can go over here for this. And the great thing is it's never about any of them. It's about me trying to avoid what hurts. 100. It's like me trying to avoid me, basically. It's
Yeah.
exactly what I did with you. These me trying to avoid myself.
It reminds me of like, even when I go to the restaurant, I want to go, can I have a bite of everything on the menu? Like
Mhm.
I don't want to commit to the pasta because what if I don't like it? Like I would really like to just sample everything. Like I think I do that in my life sometimes too. Just like I just want a little bit of everything. I don't want to get too close. Like, and I don't want to be around you too much where I might have to speak my truth and it's gonna hurt your feelings or whatever the fuck, you know.
That's fucked up. I go to Whole Foods all the time and just get a little bit out of everything, so I don't ever have to eat just one thing. I can eat everything.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. Commitment is fucking great.
Mm.
So, all right? So you've been clean for 2 years, Jacqueline. What is the what do you struggle with at this stage of the game? Like, what's the most difficult thing for you right now?
I would definitely say what we're kind of talking about right now is my identity is so much working and then someone would say, well, you have your own business, you are working your own business. Well, I've always worked a lot. It's always been a huge part of my identity. And I think that having relationships with Elise, like, have Elise and I hung out that many times since we've known each other? No. Why? Probably because I'm working. I think it's a perfect example of what we're talking about. Is, and I try to ask myself that too, like, are you working too much? Are you too busy? Or are you trying to, there's this like separation I have between me and like really with people and NA, and I separate NA like letting people get to know me, I think, like calling people on the phone, like if they get to know you too much, that I don't know. I think that's, I mean, as far as like, I'm going to more meetings. I think that it's like there's always this up and down of like going to meetings and being consistent. Like now I'm with a new sponsor, like all that's going good. But as far as like relationships, like, I'm close with somebody, really close with somebody in the program. And the closer we get, the more I feel like I need to tell this person about themselves. But how dare them if they were to say something about me, because I still have all these walls up. But I see my action to this person is exactly what I don't want to happen to me. And I'm doing what I don't want people to do to me. I don't want anybody to get to know me too much so they can call out my flaws. How dare you call out my flaws, but I will call out your flaws.
That
And
apply to your sponsors?
what was that?
That apply to your sponsors?
No, calls it just a friend that
Oh,
I
okay.
really will call out like their, their flaws. And yeah, I haven't let a sponsor get close enough to me to do that.
Exactly my point. How come?
Oh yeah, like
Exactly my point is like, I mean, it's a very intimate relationship. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very much like you. Like, I'm very good at busying myself away from myself.
Mhm.
Wake up, busy, 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 sleep. Wake up, busy, 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 sleep. Psst, psst, psst.
Yeah, like feeding
Really, really
myself
good way to avoid me.
with this like with like Elise or what anybody says is like I work out, like I'm constantly trying to get those, not endorphins. Is it called endorphins? What is it called? Dopamine. Like I'm constantly like,
Yes,
I
it
wake up
is.
and then my coffee makes me happy. And then I do breath work and then I do this massage and then I go to the gym and then play with like all these things that are like, I'm like happy, happy. And then you get to happy, happy. And then, you know, and it's like, I'm great. Like how are your steps? It doesn't matter. I worked out. Like, you know, like, did you call your sponsor? I listened to a podcast. Like it's always like, and not that I don't want to do those things, but it's contrary to NA, you know, like I'm happy, but like I'm also 2 years in, you know, for a sponsor, like I'm not like, you know, that close to anybody, you know, like my using friends, you know, whatever they're like I struggle with even if they just drink, like I'm not close to them. Like there's definitely this isolation. I really do struggle with isolation. I think that we all do. But it's definitely like I, you know, for the most part, my 2 years has been fairly positive. Like I've had the obsession to use, I think when I had like 90 days and that was really scary, but it doesn't mean that it can't happen. And it's like, who are you going to call?
Mhm.
You know, like when shit hits the fan or like, you know, when, if the dog, like, I'm like, what's going to happen? Like life is great. I'm clean. Like, and I live a lot of days like that. Like I'm fairly optimistic about a lot of things. But I have, since I've been clean, had maybe 3 or 4 moments where it was like shit got real dark and it's, you know, and I'll celebrate in isolation and I'll also suffer in isolation. And I think that's my biggest fault. And it always has. And I'll be like, well, my parents died. I've been on my own a long time. Well, I got to get out of that, you know? And um it's just that vulnerability. It's so hard to be vulnerable. And what I've also came to realize of like this vulnerable that I've is when I, and what I'm trying to, over the years, like even before getting clean, I always was like, I don't want to tell anybody, pretend I got a job or something. And it's like, oh, I tell you I got a job. And you're like, oh my God, that's cool. My mind would be like, man, they're not even excited for you. Why'd you tell them? But like, who's excited that you got the job? Or if I say, oh my God, the rat died. And they're like, man. And my mind is like, see, they don't even care. Like, yeah, nobody, like, I think that there's this celebrate. So I think like someone told me this, like, they're like, what do you expect people to react about what's going on? Like people will tell me stuff too. So I think that letting that go, like, does that make sense? Like, I think that like, I'm waiting for this, like, or like I'll say, oh, I was sad about my parents today or something. Like to me, it was so hard to say that to you. And if I don't get this theatrical like, oh my God, you thought about your dead parents that died 20 years ago, like, oh my God, should we get the tissues out? Like that's what I'm almost thinking that's going to happen. And when it doesn't, I'm like, see, that's why you don't say see, Jacqueline, don't say nothing, don't do that. You know what I mean? So I'm like trying to let that go. Like when people tell me stuff, sometimes I'm like, wait, what did you say? Like, hold on. Like, you know, it's not like their life, you know? And I don't know if that makes sense,
Well, and
but
there's also a lot of the, you know, my current, I get really stuck on thoughts for a long time. My current one is, you know, that everything is a story. That every single thing we do and everything we experience is basically a story we've created. Anger is a story, sadness is a story, fear is a story. Literally every single thing that we create, and I haven't been able to think of an example that this doesn't work in, is that every single thing and every way we approach the world is a story that we've created. Can you
yeah,
think of anything that's not that?
no, that's what I'm doing. Like I'm
Yeah.
doing right
Well,
now.
I mean, the reality is that's good and bad. Because if everything is a story, well, then that means I'm the writer. But the cool part is if I'm the writer, then that story is editable. And I can change that narrative to whatever the hell I want it to be, good or bad. So how do I start to stop seeing things as problems, start seeing them as opportunities, and change the way that I edit and that I write that story? You know,
Yeah.
and it's a huge piece of my recovery is because I'm, you know, was internally pessimistic about everything for so long that, oh, this sucks, that sucked. And it probably did because I was high and I fucked everything up all the time. But now I can, you know, start to look at the realities that I don't need to drag the residue of my using into my fucking life and recovery, and can start to change the story and the way I approach things. just
Yeah.
a weird thought. But
I feel
No,
like
that's
that's a big
great.
part of the steps too. Was what I was just thinking about. Like the fourth step, so much is like looking at our story up till the present day. And then the fifth is like we're sharing it with someone. And then the sixth is like, how do I keep acting in those old patterns? And then seven's like, how do I break free from that? It's very much like, okay, here's my story up till now. Do I want it to repeat itself? Or like, can I identify what I didn't like that I have the power to like do or think or feel differently about moving forward? Like the spiritual principles, right? If I don't want to be, because I'll like, and it's so hard because it is like that autopilot, of like, like I was hearing you say, Jacqueline, of like, oh, this is why we don't do this. Like it's kind of like that old story, right? Every time we do this, we don't, I'm not getting maybe like my validation or what I need. So now I'm gonna shut down again. And then like we continue to do, like I'll do the same thing. If somebody pisses me off, I'm like, all right, ghost them. And then like this just like happened to me the other day, and my sponsor's like, well, write about your, what is coming up for you here. And I wrote about my fear, and I was able to like address the situation with the person, and I feel a lot better now. But that's so like, there was crying, there was anxiety all on my own because it was breaking that pattern, but I was like, I don't want to keep doing this. I don't like this, but I had to like rewrite the story, right? But damn, it's hard to rewrite the story sometimes.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good way to it's you said to the validation and it's not personal. Like, you know what I mean? I think that's what it is like when you say something and it's like it's we're all just thinking. I think like the most important, not the most important, there's so many things I've learned since being clean, but just like not taking things personal. Like if I do say something and then someone's reaction has nothing to do with me. It really doesn't, like maybe sometimes like someone would react in like a reactive way, but it really doesn't, and yeah, there's just so much growth and so much to just learn about ourselves and how to react and perspective. And the difference of higher power for me is like higher power and perspective, which to me they're so similar.
Mhm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like it's yeah.
That's cool. Well, I really appreciate you guys today. Thanks so much for doing this. We usually kind of always try to take a takeaway. But was there something that stood out to you today from this conversation that meant something to you more than others?
um
Like if you had to say
Don't
something.
use men as objects. I'm just kidding. I didn't take that away because we're still going to use them as objects. Um, all of it. I don't know.
Okay.
I can't
Okay.
pick.
No problem. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for your time today. I really appreciate this. And if everybody out there found this was valuable, once again, you can find it at Choice Recovery Path on YouTube and any streaming platform. So I really appreciate your time today. Have a great rest of your day. Talk to you all soon.
Thanks, Jacqueline.
Bye. Are we hanging up? I'm going to go walk my dog. That was fun. Are we still recording?
All information and other content supplied or communicated in or through this video is for general informational purposes only and does not or nor is intended to constitute legal or medical advice. Any viewer of this video should contact his or her own attorney, doctor, or other applicable advisor or practitioner to obtain legal, medical, or other applicable advice with respect to the accuracy, reliability, or potential application to such viewer of any matter discussed or portrayed in this video. Please do not act or refrain from acting in any way based on any information or content supplied or communicated in or through this video. The views expressed during this video are those of the individual presenters only and not those of Choice Recovery Path LLC or any of its customers, suppliers, or affiliates. Any liability with respect to actions taken or not taken by any viewer based on any information or content supplied or communicated in or through such video is hereby expressly disclaimed. All such information or content is expressly provided as is and free of any representation or warranty of any kind.